Dubov, who's now in London, in Wimbledon, Rabbi Nissen David Dubov, and myself. And he told us that Rabbi Chadukov called him in. Rabbi Chadukov is the Rebbe's secretary, that he should take two younger light. I don't know if he said our names or not, but he called us over that we should go. Are we willing to go to Montreal for a year to take Shimush by Rabbi Handel in Montreal? And of course, Nissen David answered what he answered, but I answered that it depends. If he comes from the Rebbe, absolutely no question. If it doesn't come from the Rebbe, absolutely no question. So anyways, then for about a month or so, a month later, he came back again with the same question, and I gave the same answer. Forward about 4 months later in Sivan, there were elections in Crown Heights, and the Beis Din was formed. Rabbi Marlo, Rabbi Azdaba, and Rabbi Heller Tzelangi Yorn. That was Chav Ches Sivan, the end of Sivan. The next day, Rabbi Heller called us over, and he said that what we discussed about going to Montreal is off, and we should start doing it in Crown Heights with the Beis Din, which means that we'll sit every day for 2 hours from 9 to 11 in the morning. Usually we used to daven at that time. We should daven before Seder Chasidus, before 8 o'clock. And then from 9 to 11, we sit in the Beis Din to hear questions, answers, etc. Nissen David, myself, we did that for over a year. After a year, he got a shlichus to Wimbledon, but I continued staying here with the Beis Din. In those few years, we got several assignments from Rabbi Chodakov, the Rebbe's secretary. One of these assignments was, actually, this was not from Rabbi Chodakov, this was from Rabbi Mindel. Rabbi Mindel is also one of the secretaries of the Rebbe, as that is known. When the Frierdiker Rebbe came off the boat in 1940, he had with him Rabbi Chodakov and Rabbi Mindel. So Rabbi Heller told us as follows, that Rabbi Mindel called him, this was on a Monday, that he would like to get two younger light that should gather everything that there is in Sfarim regarding Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach. And we should also visit, at that time there was very little about Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach. And then we should also go to the New York Library, the Yeshiva University Library, and put together whatever there is, just gather. And the Lashon was, it shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 days. Okay? So we had no clue where to start from. Sheva Mitzvos. Anyway, so then Rabbi Heller told us that there is a sefer that he saw in the Rebbe's library, Mitzvos Hashem, from Rebbe and Shtayv. The next day we went to the New York Library. We spent over there, I don't know how many hours. And one of the main things that we did was we went through a archive of a certain Rav that passed away already many, many years ago, and he gave everything to the library. We went through all his stuff. We found a few words about Sheva Mitzvos, but nothing important at all. And we actually found in that archive a few manuscripts of the Mittel Rebbe. And I came back to the library. I told Ber 11 about it. He didn't know, etc. The next day we went to Yeshiva University. And again, we found almost nothing. We found one Sefer Taki from Rebbe and Shtayv, where he talks about Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach, and it's on the Chumash, on Pashas Bereishis and Shmois. So at night, what we did, at night we worked Taki from Encyclopedia Talmudis and everything to put together like a very clear system on all the Sheva Mitzvos. And by day we went to these libraries. So by Thursday afternoon, we basically had given a nice, gathering of things. We literally worked from Monday afternoon until Thursday afternoon. We hardly slept, we hardly ate, we were working nonstop. Another thing which I did was in Yeshiva University at that time. Today we have Etzra Chachma, etc. Those days there was none of that. But there was one thing, there was a program in Chicago called Davka. And they were connected to the Bar Ilan University in Israel. Bar Ilan and Etzra Poskim, I think it was, they had cards that they made on thousands of cards that they made on Shalos Teshuvos, like an index, unbelievable stuff. So I wanted to get a printout of the Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach. So I had to call Davka. They had to call Israel. Israel at the whole thing, and I got it UPS. It cost me then over $200 just the mailing. Those days, we're talking about in the 80s. etc. But I got that printout, so it was a nice package that we gave into the Rebbe. Now, another thing which I did, that Sefer from Rabbi Shtaif, I saw that he writes the Sheva Mitzvos. I had no clue who Rabbi Shtaif is. Later, I found out my mother remembered him when she went to Bis Yaakov in Williamsburg. She used to remember. He was in the concentration camps. He was giving shiur in Balpeh. He used to quote Ranz in the concentration camp. Anyways, so I called up the number that was in the Sefer, Shtaif. It was a number in Monsey. And it turned out this was his grandson. His grandson that lived in Monsey was a Rosh Hashanah. He told me Rabbi Yonason is my Zaydi. He already passed away. My father in Williamsburg has a closet in his house, which all his ksavim are in there, and it's closed. It was never opened in 20 years at least. So I right away went to Williamsburg to the father, and I explained to him. Now, this was already after we gave it to Rabbi Mindel. We gave it to him on Thursday afternoon. But then we went to Shtaif the following week or something, and I explained to him what we're trying to do, and he told me, no, we can't. I said, Rabbi, I'm on a mission here for the Rebbe, not for me. Okay, so you opened the closet, and I found over there, now it's already printed. They printed a couple of years ago. But at that time, he had written on Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach, 3 of the first mitzvahs were already prepared in Gelis. Gelis are the proofs. The ways you worked those days was proofs, and that lady made it into pages. And the other 7 were all b'ksav yad. He had written. Now he writes wild stuff. He can't take it la'locha la'maisa. For example, he writes that goyim are not allowed to shave because it says in the Ramban that shaving is a bizrayit avodah zarah. The koimrim, I'm not going to go into all the details, but he had a lot of stuff. So I told him I would like to make a photostat for the Rebbe. She says, no, I can't. You're going to take it. You're going to print it. I said, I'm not going to print it. I don't care about this stuff. I'm doing it because I'm on a mission. So I told you know what? Here, let's make a deal. I took out of my pocket $200. I said, here, take the money. You go make the copies and you give it to the Rebbe. You could trust the Rebbe. Maybe you don't trust me, but when he saw that I said that, he right away said, take whatever you want, take whatever you need. Just don't print it. And I said, I'm telling you right now what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a photostat, giving it to the Rebbe, and bring you right back everything.
How do I have 3 books in my house if you didn't print it? How do I have 3 books in my house?
The family printed it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once I found it, so they took it and then gave it back. But it took them over 20 years before they just printed it in the last 10 years. The books that you have, if you have any books of Rabbi Shtaif, it was way after Gimel Tammuz that they did that. I didn't touch it. I just made a copy, gave it to the Rebbe, and that was that. As a matter of fact, first of all, when I was there that first day, I found 2 letters from the Rebbe, which I brought to Bet 11. At that time, he was printing Igros Kodesh Garelik Beis. It was right in the beginning of Igros Kodesh of the Rebbe. And I found 2 original letters from the Rebbe to him. And in the Rebbe mentions over there about Sheva Mitzvos, a whole bunch of things about Kibud Avoim and other things, whether unbelievable stuff. And then later I stole Leibel Bistritsky. And Leibel Bistritsky told me that he was the shliach then that brought the letters back and forth from the Rebbe to Rabbi Shtaif. But that's another whole... so I saw that the Rebbe was already... How do you say it? Programming Sheva Mitzvos in Tafshin Ches, 1948, for the way the Rebbe talks about it, like Halachah and Maisa, about Sheva Mitzvos. It was unbelievable. So then when I brought this to Rabbi Groner, this whole pile, so he says, I think you hit the jackpot. Seemingly the Rebbe was looking for something like this. Then went by a few weeks. Don't remember now exactly how much, but I got a call from Rabbi Groner. He called me up. He says, Levy, the Rebbe asked to make another project. And that is to take the Sefer Minchas Chinuch, Babad, and find anywhere we talk about the Rav Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach. I ran home. I took the Minchas Chinuch. I sat through the night till the morning, and I gave the Rebbe, by the time 10 o'clock, the Rebbe came the next morning. He had a list of the whole Minchas Chinuch, everything. And I found in there that he writes, Ubekuntresi al Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach ha'erachti. That on my kuntras al Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach, I was more marichas. So I made a point of, stressing that there's a kuntras somewhere. Anyway, so I brought this to Rabbi Groner right away, and I told him I'm going to try to. I called up all the libraries in the United States. I called up Brandeis, Harvard, of course, Yeshiva University. I spoke to Zalman Alpert. Zalman is the librarian. I don't know if you know him from New Haven. You know Zalman? He retired. I don't know why, but he's an open encyclopedia. And I know him for many, many years. And I called up the family, the Babad family, the Eniklach of the Minchas Chinuch. First of all, nobody ever heard that he wrote about this. Anyways, I never was able to put my hands on that kuntris, but that was the end that I heard. Many years later, about 10 years ago, maybe less, I don't remember, I met Reb Shalom Ber Shapiro from Rabbi Mendel's son-in-law, and he asked me, Levy, did you write once something on Sheva Mitzvos? I said, yes. He says, you know that the Rebbe has a whole bunch of, I said, I have no idea. I did my job and that was that. So I never got the chance to see it yet. Hopefully one day I'm trying, and hopefully one day we'll get to see it. This is the story in brief.
Did you ever get the Sefer from the Minchas Chinuch or not?
No.
No, nobody heard of it. No one saw it.
Whoever I spoke to, never. The family didn't even know it exists. And then I told him, look at this mitzvah, look at it. It says clearly.
Where does he mention it? Which mitzvah?
I have it in Minchas Chinuch.
I have someone who holds a grandson of the Minchas Chinuch. I'm going to try to
find it. If you want, I'll take out the Minchas Chinuch and I'll tell you. Sure.
You have a chance.
I have it upstairs, and I'll tell you. Sure, okay, no problem. Okay. But he definitely writes that. But it's interesting. The Rebbe, out of all Sfarim in the world, the Rebbe said to go through the Minchas Chinuch. I think it says something. You know.
Maybe the Rebbe remembered it there from seeing it there. Cloud, the Rebbe, they put together two Sfarim, right? And the Rebbe's Minchas Chinuch. Yeah.
But there's nothing there about that. That's the basic story of Sheva Mitzvos. If you want to have a little laugh, I see that you have to leave in a few minutes. Bekitzer, since I got that printout from Bar Ilan, you know, one time if I bring it, the Rebbe mentioned something that there is no sefer that says about Sheva Mitzvos, something about whether there is the Easter Bal Yach or Nishtige. When the Rebbe said the Lashon, there's no such seifers, I figured, I have a printout, right? Let me go through it. I found one, Shalom Eshiv. The Rebbe says that nobody says such a thing that by going to the Easter from Bal Yach, whatever, Nishnegeh, exactly what the point is. And I figured, you know, that we go through the printout. I went through the printout and I found that seemingly it looked like the Shalom Eshiv does say that. So I right away made a photostat and I ran to Rabbi Garelik, the Rosh Yeshiva in Old Teda, and I told him, read what it says here. He went crazy. Said, how did you find this? What do you mean, how? I learned, I don't know the whole Shalom Eshiv Alpeh. What are you talking about? Anyways, of course, I told him that I print out from the Bar Ilan. So then I went to Rabbi Groner and I showed him so I told him, but just do me a favor. Don't tell the Rebbe where it came from. I'm not interested in any, just say somebody brought it in Fartik. Get to the next Fabrengen, the Rebbe used to refer to the previous Fabrengen. So the Rebbe continued talking about the subject, and he said, then people send in stuff, that there is a pasuk that says that seemingly we didn't understand Pshat in the Shalom Eshiv, but it was just an interesting. So we all made eye contact by the Fabrengen, Rabbi Glitzker, Rabbi Groner, and myself, you know. But
so the Rebbe didn't like the Shalom Eshiv.
But the Rebbe said, no, I that we didn't learn Pshat correctly.
What was the issue? What issue the Rebbe talk about?
If a guy is also, there's a likut already on it. I'll look at the sichos, yeah. But Stam, I just want to bring out that from that printout, that's our, yeah, it was just an interesting concept.
Wow.
Right? That's the basic. Amazing. Now I
Rabbi Garelik, what's your feeling now about what's your feeling now in the year 2026, Tavshin Pei Vav? Where should we be going with the Sheva Mitzvos? Because there are those who taina, the shluchim who taina, that the Rebbe never wanted shluchim to get involved in the Sheva Mitzvos directly. If a goy happens to ask him a question, then but the goy had chila and to make whole books and then to make shiurim and even like Chabad houses of goyim, the Rebbe didn't want. So what's your feeling?
For someone to say the Rebbe never wanted something, he has to be a bucky in all the sichos and all the letters and all the answers, etc. I never really studied the sugya. I just know that whenever I see Yidden, I talk to them about our mitzvahs. Whenever I see Goyim, I talk to them. I had a cute story once. I went with one of the Teresa Shliach, but I was in Italy. When I was a bacher, I had a yeshiva with a few bachrim. So on Purim, I used to start from Milan at 4 o'clock in the morning, drive down 3 hours to the first city. I used to go basically to 7 cities, stop off, read the Megillah, give the Shachmanis, and take off. The last stop was in Siena. Siena is a city that has the Palio di Siena, whatever. In each one of these cities, you had the Israeli students, you had all kinds of stuff, whatever. When I came to Siena, that was the only place where we had a program. I used to arrive there about a half hour before the Shkia, go into the shul, everybody was there waiting, like 200 people. I knock off the Megillah, and then we have a program. Right before they start the Megillah, the Shliach, he's in New York actually, he comes to me and he says, there's somebody in the Cheder Sheni who's a little distraught. So I ran out. Anyways, I asked him, why don't you come in to listen to the Megillah? He says, he doesn't know. So I said, sir, I got to run in to read the Megillah. Tell me your story quickly. Anyways, he's an American student, and he came to Siena. He had an uncle in Siena, and he has a yarmulke and whatever. He was a traditional student. And he says, I came to my uncle. I walk into his house, and this was 2-3 days before. And I see Yatzelem on the wall. So he asked his uncle, what's this doing on the wall? He says, why not? Anyways, it turns out that his uncle is not Jewish. That's his mother's brother. So now he finds out that his mother is not Jewish. But they were traditional. So now he has no clue. Is he Jewish? Is he not Jewish? So I told him, listen, even if you're not Jewish, you have Sheva Mitzvos, this, that. He says, Rabbi, I don't need a pep talk. I need to know if I'm Jewish or not. That's when I thought I'm going to tell her Sheva Mitzvah. He'll be all excited. Boom, Ben, I need to know if I'm Jewish or not. That was the... so I have all kinds of stories with Sheva Mitzvahs. There's no question that things have to be done. Now, I'm not one of the tours, as they say. If they ask me to give shiurim on Sheva Mitzvahs, I give. They ask me to. I don't know the Chabad houses what the rules have to be. Those things I don't know because I didn't study the. There's no question that we have to see a yid. You have to talk about Sheva Mitzvahs. The putting on tefillin. And you see Lahav Lagoy, you have to talk to him about Sheva Mitzvahs. No question about it. As much as possible. As much as possible. Because you never know, that little pintele that you tell him, Sheva Mitzvahs, when Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Har Sinai, he gave the Sheva Mitzvahs then that he didn't have to tell everybody. It does plant a seed. It plants a seed, no question about it. And it'll make the world into a better place. When you start telling people that we have to make the whole world into a better place, there's 7 billion people and we're 15 million. Are we going to make the whole world? The answer is yes. Slowly but surely. That's all.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rabbi Garelik, for that very informative and beautiful presentation.
Beautiful. Thank you.